Hi, this is Ryan with Disruptarian Radio. I live in Puna, Hawaii, Puna district of the Big Island, and this TMT protest has been going on for a little over a month now. I believe it started July 15th. It is now, well, it's August 11th, so not quite a month. And it is putting a lot of people's jobs at risk, a lot of people's livelihood at risk, and it's risking this scientific investment in Hawaii that provides something like 1,400 jobs currently in Hawaii, and is giving the Big Island, Hawaii, almost $90 million a year in revenue, which is huge. I mean, this is just the science, astronomy investment. Astronomy alone is providing over $90 million in the Big Island alone, and 148 million Hawaii-wide. So, I mean, not only do I believe that this could save us from some sort of a natural disaster like an asteroid impact, having a strong and well-functioning astronomy program like what we have, what we're building, could help us deflect the next asteroid like what wiped out the dinosaurs. I think that's huge for the survival of our species. And it's interesting to find out how our universe came together, what is out there, what we should know, what we don't know yet, but what we could know. I mean, there's so many reasons for it, but it would help us recover here on Big Island after going through two major natural disasters. Now, today, I was accused by a guy named Patrick, and I've documented this and I've exposed him. He's using about 5 different accounts. Some of them are anonymous, some of them are using his real name and pictures, but they're all connected to this guy. And I posted it on Facebook on my Clovis Star Media group, or page, that is. But he accused me of insulting his family, of saying something to his daughter, of being racist, of disrespecting his religion. So I just wanted to get through this really quick. I do not agree with this whole illegal overthrow, this illegal occupation, this premise that the United States stole Hawaii. I don't believe that at all, and I documented why. And you can see this, Larson versus the Hawaiian Kingdom, on my website, disruptarian.com. These are the reasons why. I've given all my sources. I've documented, where this notion comes from and where my premise comes from on why it's not illegally overthrown. Cited people like James Blunt and John T. Morgan, and the 2 investigations into this overthrow of the Hawaiian Kingdom by its own subjects back in 1893. And so I've tried to give as thorough of a point of view as to why I disagree as possible. Now, when I first got to Hawaii, I felt the same way that I did in Puerto Rico, that I don't agree with the Jones Act. I don't agree with the way that the islands are treated. And if they want to, achieve sovereignty or independence, so be it. But not based on this lie that people like David Tsai, who is involved in some sort of title scam with his company Perfect Title. He's already received 1 felony. He's up for another one right now, for scamming people out of money, saying that this illegal overthrow invalidates their mortgage and their title insurance will pay for it, and blah, blah, blah. And then they pay him $1,500 to do a bogus title search, and then they never get anything out of it. And so, he's been already charged with a Class B felony, and I believe charged and convicted of a Class B felony, and now I think he's up for another one as of January of 2019. So he's pushing this narrative. He went to The Hague, the International Court of Arbitration, and, tried to appeal to them. They dismissed his case. He keeps lying, saying that it's pending, but it's totally dismissed. There's nothing left. And he keeps pushing this false narrative. And I don't think that anything should be based on a false narrative, just like climate change. Climate change is with or without humans. I believe in keeping the earth clean. And nothing needs to be lied about in order to say we need to keep the earth clean. We don't need to say, well, let's keep the earth clean because of climate change, when humans only contribute 0.28% of all greenhouse gases. We can say, let's keep the earth clean because we want to keep our earth clean. We don't need to lie and make these false premises. So, I believe in keeping the earth clean. I don't believe on basing that on a false premise like climate change. You know, a million years ago, the Earth was a lot warmer than it was now. Even 22,000 years ago, the Earth was warmer than it is now. And it's also been much colder than it is now. And we've had a lot more carbon and a lot more greenhouse gases in the atmosphere than it is now. So we don't need to make false premises, just like this whole independence thing or sovereignty thing with the Hawaiian kingdom or the Hawaiian people or these islands here. I mean, if they want to achieve independence, let them go about it like in Puerto Rico. I favored it in Puerto Rico 100%. I thought that it was terrible, the Jones Act and the other, stipulations, these loans that were being pushed on Puerto Rico. I thought it was rotten, and I supported the independence movement there. I still do. I've never wavered in that. And you can see a lot of my videos at clovisstar.com about that. There's never been a time where I have wavered on my support for Puerto Rico's independence. And I would be more on board with Hawaiian independence if they weren't lying about the premise, about this illegal overthrow and about the annexation and about the treaty and all this other stuff. So beyond that, I just wanted to show that no, I do not feel like I need to disrespect their religion, their race or identity or ethnicity or any of that. And they say, well, you're just, saying these things on a computer, what you do is just behind a computer. No, I go to the meetings. So this is me when I first got to Hawaii, voicing my consideration on this issue. And I hadn't really researched a lot of it yet, but I was asking questions. And here's David Sire right here. Here's the guy that's conning everybody. Here's the guy with the Class B felony that owned a company called Perfect Title, who was charging people $1,500 for bogus title searches and telling them not to pay their mortgage. All this other stuff that he was convicted for. This is not an allegation. This is a conviction. So I asked Jennifer Ruggles, and at the time I didn't even know his name. I called him Dr. Kai because I wasn't sure, but now I know it's David Sy. That's his name. And I asked them, how far back do these international treaties go? And I identified myself as human and my home as being Earth. I wasn't, separating myself from other humans. I wasn't bringing race into it. I wasn't dividing myself based on race or ethnicity. I identify as my race being human and my home being planet Earth. And here's proof of that. This is September 24th, I believe. Yeah, September 24th, 2018, with Jennifer Ruggles and David Sy. So first, thank you. I am new to Hawaii. I've only been here for a few months. I don't consider myself a citizen really of anywhere. I've been to 12 countries this year. I don't believe in borders. I don't believe in a lot of this. So, when it comes to nations and things like that, I believe that we're humans and we live on planet Earth. That's my philosophy. But what I'm looking at is the international law, which you brought up a lot of good points that I didn't know about before. But what I'm seeing here is that in 1949, we're talking about the Hague Convention and the Geneva Convention, but we're talking about treaties that were established long before that in 1873 and things like that. So I'm just wondering how retroactively can international law go back? So there's been a lot of treaties violated, not only by the U.S., but by every country. I mean, even in Hawaii, there was a lot of wars for 900 years. Maui took Hawaii, Hawaii took Maui, and Oahu, and back and forth. There was a lot of wars and a lot of conquests. So there's been conquest for all of human history. So if we're talking about a 1949 law and international law, how far can that go back, and how many wrongs can we right with that law? Is it even possible? So thank you.
Great question. As I learned and read about the Geneva Conventions and how they relate to the 1800s, is back then they weren't actually in writing, but there were customary traditions that were considered to be international law that the countries agreed upon. And
so I'm just going to fast forward a little bit here, and I don't even know if my sound is up high enough to capture this data, but David Sy goes into this a little bit, and so I get an answer from both Jennifer Ruggles and David Sy. Here's more.
The government was 1893, so that's 6 years before, right? And then the 1899 Hague Convention was superseded in 1907, which is what we currently know today, and which the United States.
So anyway, I go to these meetings. I'm not hiding from anybody. I got my face, my name, my phone number's on my website. I'm not, launching attacks or insults or ad hominem. What I'm doing is establishing facts. I'm asking questions, I'm finding answers, and I'm revealing what I find. And I notice that a lot of people don't like that. So, I mean, just for, all intents and purposes, if you look up just racism in Hawaii, this is something I looked up, before I even came here. And I've been coming back and forth for years. Before we moved here, I came back and forth with my son. We, went to see Kilauea before the eruption. We spent time on Oahu. I was looking at boats here years before that. I spent a lot of time here in Hawaii. And before that, I did a radio show with co-host named Pastor Ray Crystal in Maui before he died in 2015. And I did a radio show with him on and off for 10 years. So I have some history here. I'm not from here, but I'm from planet Earth and I'm a human. So I don't feel awkward being here. But there is some racism. And if you just look up, for example, Laird Hamilton, world-renowned surfer, grew up here, grew up in Kauai. He said from day one he was bullied, and there were racists that bullied him at school.
2 feet later, and
from kindergarten on. And so, I mean, that's something that's a reality here in Hawaii. So if you're different, or if you oppose what, the common narrative is, or if you don't agree that white people are trash, like they want you to, or whatever, and that happens quite often, that people, especially people without jobs and people, criminals and whatnot, that people on the low end of the social ladder, if, they find that maybe you're doing better, or that you don't succumb to this notion that white people are terrible, then yeah, you'll get a lot of racism thrown at you. And so, Laird talks about this. You can look this video up. I don't need to play the whole thing.
In an altercation with a giant Hawaiian kid.
Okay, yeah.
I got in the first day of school.
You bullied.
Well, it started, I think, in the first day of school. I think the first day of school, I got in an altercation with a giant Hawaiian kid, and he was the other biggest kid in the class, and that was the beginning. Was like kindergarten. It started in kindergarten, and then just worked its way on through middle school, or all the way to high school, until eventually I think I just got to the point where I got tired of it and thought maybe I shouldn't be at this school.
And explain like why they would do it and what would actually happen.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, it was real simple. The reason why I was kind of picked on and picked out was I was just different, and my difference was that I was blonde and light-skinned, and which could have led them to think that I might have been, a descendant of Captain Cook, the guy who ruined the Hawaiian Islands. I would always sit in the back of the class in the corner so that I could see what was coming. I still do that now. I go to restaurants with Gabby for dinner, and I just always want to sit in the back of the restaurant in the corner so I can see everything. It's just like an ongoing thing, and it's not anything I think that many people haven't experienced in their life. It's just something that they might not connect to me. I think that's the confusing part. You look at me, you think, surfer guy and the beach, and how is there any kind of racism or any kind of and it goes across all all platforms.
So anyway, and that does happen, and I've lived here for long enough to know what happens here. Racism based on just race, not anything else. Like, people will say, well, if you're cool with them and if you respect them, they'll respect you. And to some degree that's true, but with the lower rung of the ladder, it's not necessarily that way. There's jealousy, there's hatred, there's generational pain, and a lot of it is drummed up by these false narratives of this illegal overthrow and this illegal occupation and these other things. So anyway, beyond all that, I wanted to say about the TMT that there is a ton of support by Native Hawaiians. One poll by Star Advertiser said that it was 72% of Native Hawaiians that supported it. There's plenty of prominent Native Hawaiians that I can show you and that I will show you that do support it. And so that's not an abnormal number. Even though that protest up on the Mauna looks big, it's only at the very most 2,000 people. The day that I went up there and I filmed and I took my drone up there and I flew with the drone over, they claimed while I was there, and I recorded it, that there was 3,000 people there at that time. That's what they claimed. I flew the drone over. I drove up and down the street where, on both sides people are parked. And there was no way there was even 200 cars there. And there was no way at all, there was more than 600 people there. So they claimed 3,000. There was actually about 500 people. And that's still the same today. And, with the population of, 1.4 million, that's insignificant. A couple thousand people is insignificant. But they're the loud, vocal minority. They are not the majority. Poll after poll after poll shows a large majority wants the TMT. And a small minority wants to use this as political ransom. They want things that they believe they should have, and probably they deserve in some ways, but they're holding the TMT as ransom. So I just wanted to show you. This is Kalepa Baybayan, and he's one of the wayfinders that sails around the world on one of these traditional Polynesian ships to bring awareness and to teach the Hawaiian language. And he is pissed about this blockade and about the rule of law in Hawaii, and he's pro-TMT. I just want to show you him, and I've got a whole bunch of others. I'm just going to do little clips here and there. This might be a 30 or 35-minute video, but I want to document this.
Before I start, I gotta speak real slowly because I have a hard time controlling my breathing. So just some consideration. I'm not gonna take more than 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Kalepa Baybayan of Kailua Kona, providing testimony in opposition to Resolution 23319. I wholeheartedly reject the resolution forwarded by the ill-considered request of Senator Kai Kahele, urging Governor David Ige and Mayor Harry Kim, calling for a moratorium on the construction of the 30-meter telescope. There currently is a self-imposed moratorium on construction, access, and any observatory activity imposed by those blockading access to the summit in the name of Kapualoa. Their action demonstrates anything but a law. Yesterday, a Gemini Observatory maintenance crew was denied access to the summit, even though an agreement had previously been reached. Protesters reneged on the agreement. Law and order is not in control of the mountain. I respect the right of protesters to protest peacefully, but not to break the law by denying legal access to the summit. TMT has endured a long and tenuous legal process, and the Supreme Court ruled favorably to uphold the BLNR's right to grant a conservation district use permit. In an adversarial court process, both sides present evidence to make their case. One side is successful in arguing the case, and one side is the loser. To now disagree with the verdict by actions blockading TMT construction crews' access to the mountain is the behavior of an immature adolescent.
Now, I agree. I don't believe he is racist. I don't believe he is disrespecting anybody's religion. I feel the same way as he does, absolutely. And this guy has a lot of cred here. This guy is the PWO navigator. PWO is the ritual of like wayfinding and sailing and whatnot. Born and raised in Maui, Chad Kalepa Baybayan first sailed on the haole. I can't pronounce it, but this is that ship, the Polynesian ship that travels the world. He was the site director of the Maunakea, the Exploration Sciences Division. He teaches Hawaiian language. Anyway, lots of street cred. This is that PWO is a sacred initiation ritual in which students of traditional navigation in the Caroline Islands in Micronesia became master navigators and are initiated in the associated secrets. Many islanders in the area indicate that this ceremony originated on the island of Palap or nearby islands. Anyway, tons of street cred, straight up, Kanaka Maoli, and just a good guy. And, like I say, born and raised here, and has tons of cred, teaches Hawaiian language. These are the people that are out waving signs. This was July 30th, 2019, where anti-TMT people were out harassing people that were pro-TMT, screaming at them, profanities, everything else.
Welcome my TMT, that's Hawaiian, dummy. Get the
Anyway, so there's that. But lots. I mean, that's the thing is you get majorly harassed if you're pro TMT or if you don't go along with their narrative up here. Richard Ha in support of TMT. Richard Ha's got a ton of cred here. Look him up. This is TMT supporter sign waving July 15th. I mean, tons of them.
Light happens. And I know many Hawaiian people who support this project. So I know that they are kind of like a silent majority.
And you'll see like labor unions, but also, you know, people that are Native Hawaiian, like this gal here, Brialyn, Onodera, TMT.
Leadership was a great opportunity to get more involved in the scientific community here.
Let's see, Dean Au, Carpenters Union, Native Hawaiian.
My name is Dean, and I'm with the Hawaii Regional Council of Carpenters.
He supports it. Let's see, TMT equipment going up. Imua TMT. Hundreds and hundreds of supporters. This was July 25th at the state capitol, showing support for the TMT. Yes, TMT. All these people. Now these people got harassed too. You know, things slung at them. You know, people, you know, yelling racial things at them and everything. There's video of that too. But nonetheless, you know, they endured. Tons of supporters, and they do this weekly. Lots of people going out supporting the TMT all over the state. This guy, Mark Travellino, he's the Hawaii, I think he's president of the Hawaii Labor Union.
What's your name? My name's Mark Travellino. I represent the Hawaii Labor Union.
Okay. Okay, so there's another Native guy born here supporting the TMT. Labor union guy. Lots of labor unions support this. This is sign waving. This is in Hilo. Support astronomy on Maunakea. Anyway, so no, I feel like if people want to practice a religion that has been put to rest, I mean, it was put to rest in 1810 when King Kamehameha II and King Kamehameha the Great's wives destroyed the kapu, and the priest at the time destroyed all the altars and burned all of the idols, and for nearly 200 years it was not practiced. Now that they're protesting this and they're using this as political leverage, now they're going back and saying, okay, well, this is our sacred things, these are our sacred rituals, this is our sacred religion. Fine, I'm cool with that, but there is a separation between church and state, and a religion can't control the government. That's why we have that separation, so that religion doesn't control the government, and the government has already granted this permit. So that separation and that issue is being made, and I am not one that wants to see any religion, whether it be a religion that I am involved with or somebody else is involved with. I never want to see that control the rule of law or government. I have total respect for the Hawaiians. I have so many Hawaiian friends, which is why I came here. I dated several Hawaiian girls growing up. Had a good friend Jason growing up that I went to middle school or junior high school with. Hung out with almost every day. Skateboarder friend of mine. We used to go to the dance club together. Drank with guys from BYU that were in the football team. We used to drink in Provo, Utah, at an apartment that I used to have on 9th East. And a lot of people that I know are Hawaiian that I just absolutely adore. And then coming here, and having a lot of friends here in Hawaii that are Hawaiian, it's those that practice this genetic ownership and this genetic privilege stuff that irritate me, because that's racist, and I don't agree with that. I would never insult anybody's children. I would never even use ad hominem attacks. When people threaten me, and they have, and I've got a lot of documentation of it, I posted it on my Facebook group, or my Facebook page, Clovis Star Media, as they threaten, as they use ad hominem, as they, make threats, I I record it and I post it, I won't put up with that. And I'm not going to back down just because someone's using big words. If they want to kill me, kill me. If they want to hurt me, hurt me. But, you don't need to use big words on the internet. Do what you got to do. But because I oppose their protest of, the law being, where it is, and their illegal activities to block people from work, there's thousands of people being blocked from work. The tour bus drivers, the astronomers, the astronomy technicians, the people that work up and down that mountain all the time, and the construction workers for the TMT. I mean, all these people have families to feed, and I don't agree with them blocking the Summit Road. I believe they need to get the frick out of there, and that's my stance. I'm not going to back down because people threaten me. But I'm also not going to be lied on, saying that, oh, you've said horrible things and you've disrespected this and you're racist this and that. No, that's not true, and it will never be true. And as far as back as when I first got here and moved into my house here in Hawaii, I came to these meetings to state that my race is human. I don't separate myself as Caucasian or as white or as European or as any of that. I've lived in more countries that are non-white than I have lived in countries that are white. My kids ask, my youngest boy, when he's 5 years old, he's like, why don't we know anybody else that's blonde hair, blue-eyed? Because we've lived in Mexico, Puerto Rico, now Hawaii, and USVI, and all these different islands, and we are typically in the minority. We don't segregate ourselves with people that look like us. That's not our prerogative. We go with wherever the wind blows us, and we don't have any consideration of race. But when people are infantile and have to use threats and ad hominem language to try to intimidate, that's when I draw the line. So anyway, I'll put the links in the description. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.